Hey everybody, this is Macy Kate White and I work with InCare Technologies, and today I just want to give you a quick rundown of the RUS DLT grant. So you've probably had us reach out to you, or you may be wanting to know more information about this grant. So wanted to kind of give you just a quick rundown so you can understand what resources are available to you. So first off, just what is RUS? RUS is a grant that's federally funded. It works with the USDA, which is the Department of Agriculture, to implement distance learning and telemedicine equipment into rural areas. So the Department of Agriculture actually has a department called the Rural Utilities Service, and that's where we get the acronym RUS. And that's what we refer to it most of the time, but we also sometimes will call it the DLT grant. And that is because this grant funds distance learning technology and telemedicine. So the Department of Rural Utility Services spearheads this project, and it can fund so many things. It can fund hardware, software, licenses, the installation, the training, the maintenance, and even more. So we say with this grant, you're really able to dream big. When you talk about funding, historically speaking, the RUS grant funds up to $1 million. So a district can ask for up to $1 million worth of equipment to kind of get started, to get the ball rolling on distance learning. What we mean when we talk about distance learning in this case is from one physical site or address to another physical site or address. So you can really dream big, and we'll talk about ways you can implement this grant here in a few minutes. But the applicant or the district is responsible for paying about 13% of the total overall budget. So you can kind of crunch some numbers. You can get a lot of equipment for up to $1 million. The minimum ask is, I think, $50,000. So you really can just meet the needs of your district. An easy way of thinking about how much funding you have is just to think that however much you spend, you're going to spend about 13 cents on the dollar. Or even say, sometimes you can think about it as you're getting an 87% off coupon. When we talk about who qualifies for this grant, again, the project's led by the Rural Utility Service. So with this grant, the more rural, impoverished, and underserved an area is, the more likely they are to get funded. So the whole goal is to be able to provide content and resources to areas that most likely would not receive those services without extra funding. So a general rule of thumb when you're trying to figure out if your area would qualify or not is just if there's a population of less than 20,000 in that town, then you're probably going to have a better score. Every year it changes, but there's always special considerations given to the grant applicant and their score. So you can always have a chance to get your score up a little bit higher. In the past, it's been things like adding a STEM component, substance abuse, opioid addiction, travel lands, lots of different things. You never know what it's going to be, but there's always that chance to raise your score even higher. At InCare, we work with Polycom and the Poly Grant Assistance Program to have somebody kind of guide you through all the process of the grant, but in the beginning to provide you with an objective score, to tell you what your score is going to be, how we can make that score better, to look at different areas that you might want to serve and see how can we make your application the best it can be. Just thinking about types of projects, we always tell people to dream big. One way that we see this project used a lot is through teacher sharing. So lots of districts that we work with, especially in the rural areas, may lack teachers in some of those foreign languages and some of those harder to find areas like upper level sciences, upper level maths. And so they might use a teacher sharing either between schools. They may have several different high schools and not enough teachers to staff each one, or even may work out with another district to teacher share through that platform. So teacher sharing is a great way. Staff development. We know with times of COVID, it's hard to get everybody in one area. So we have a lot of districts that are using these systems to equip different classrooms in different schools with equipment to be able to video conference from one site to the other, to enrich the curriculum by instructing different teachers on how they can teach in different ways, giving them professional development, really kind of having that collaboration aspect without having to all gather in one place. So staff development, dual enrollment, we see this a lot where districts will partner with a local community college or a university or even a technical school to provide those classes for their students. Another area is virtual field trips, especially in times of COVID. A lot of schools are not able to actually go on site to somewhere. And And even more so in those rural areas, they may not have an opportunity to access a site that would be really beneficial to their curriculum. So being able to have the resources to have those virtual field trips and provide that authentic experience for the students would be great and an awesome use of this technology. And then the other component is just the medical clinics. We know that a lot of times in the rural areas, it's hard for students to get the medical treatment that they need, or even when their parents get off work, to be able to drive them to a town nearby and have that treatment in the time frame that those clinics are open. So we see a lot of this telemedicine component where schools have a clinic and they're actually calling from a school to a health center nearby so that that child can be treated, and not only limited to the students, but also to the community around there that can have access to that medical clinic. So these are just a few of the ways that this project has been implemented that we have seen, but we always encourage people just to dream big. There's so much more you can do. So if you have a need that you need met in your area, we want to talk to you about it, because most likely there is a funding justification for that. Just so what's next, we just ask you to reach out to your rep. So you know who your rep is at NCARE, and that's on our website as well. You can reach out to them. And just kind of let them know you're interested. And then we will tell you when the grant guidance comes out. Usually it's the first quarter of the year. So we're looking at about January, but we last year saw it come out in March or April. So you have some time, but once that guidance is released, there's only about 60 days until submission. So we like to go ahead and know that you're interested. And then the next step would be we'd get a call with the grant team and we would start to work with them. They would help you understand what the guidance is asking, try to figure out what your needs are, how can we implement that, what's your score, how can we get it even higher and make your application as competitive as it can be. We will do meetings and kind of follow-ups and make sure that once it's time to submit, after we've dreamed big and planned what we can do and how we can change lives in your district, we'll just hang on for that submission date. We would submit your grant, and just kind of help you understand what that entails and how you can go through getting your application onto the Federal Register and making sure that we've walked you through that process and how you can apply. And then once we've submitted, it normally takes about 6 months to for the USDA to review all of the applications and then to get out those award letters. So we would love to work with you on this. We would love to be the next step and kind of give you some more information. This is a quick rundown, but we look forward to talking with you and look forward to changing lives with you. Thank you.